Labante, and welcome to my living room, where today we're going to reflect upon The Untethered Soul by 𝐕𝐞𝐭𝐞𝐫, specifically the chapter on taking down the walls. So, if you've never been to my channel, my whole purpose here is to uplift, to support you, to inspire you, and hopefully that will empower you to go live your best life, because life is too short, and we humans have a tendency to make it much more serious than it really is. So I'm here to give a little comedy, a little humor, but also a little reflection, because it's in retrospect that we usually go, oh, boy, I made a big whoop-de-doo out of that one, didn't I? And I only know this because I'm a Leo, so I can get a little dramatic. I have my huffy puffy moments, and then I soften and purr like a cat. People who know me, are close to me, know that sometimes I'm like, you know, and then it takes a lot to get me to that point where I literally roar, scream, or get upset, because I know how to emotionally regulate myself. So for me, if I get to that point, then I know that I've been holding on to it for far too long, and that I've let it fester, and it's lingered too long. And usually when that happens, that's when dis-ease occurs in the body. So for myself, I know how to move that energy. It's about moving the body, because movement is medicine. And when your body is feeling discomfort, dis-ease, you got to move it, because if you don't move it, you're going to lose it, literally, from here. A body in motion stays in motion, and the mind is so clever. You'll try to think your way out of things, when in reality, a lot of times the mind gets us into more problems than it can handle. So, emotional regulation is key. Recognizing when you need a timeout, to breathe, to slow down, to course correct and self-reflect. Usually comes first self-reflect and then the course correct. Because when we become aware, we slow down, we breathe, we become mindful of the fullness of our mind and all the matter, the mind chatter that goes on. And in those moments, it's like, oh man, that's what's been going on. That's what I've been avoiding sitting with. How many people avoid their own minds? Can't meditate because they're afraid of all those thoughts. When in reality, those are the thoughts that are running and ruling over their lives. Those are the drivers. We are so much smarter than we give ourselves credit. And our minds are so clever, we don't even recognize that we are the slaves to our own minds. That the mind is mastering you, and you're meant to switch that. You're supposed to master your mind, because once you master your mind through mastering your breath, you can master your life and then master your entire domain. And it all starts with you. And it all starts with an irony of the mind. Choosing. The moment you choose, because you are the observer, you are the participator, you are the creator of your reality. So, what are you going to do with that? And what do you think? The Untethered Soul, today's chapter, taking down the walls. Do you notice what walls you've built in your own life? How you've kept people at an arm's length distance. So many different statements that we've heard over the course of our lives. You know, got to protect my heart. I'm afraid of getting hurt again. That's more of a mental projection. That's not a truth. Because when our heart breaks, we let more light in to illuminate the truth of what it is we truly desire. And a lot of times it's not until our heart is broken, so to say, because that's really just a figurative speech. The heart's only broken because we didn't accept things as they were. We resisted what was. And with the resistance of the mind creates the stopping and the blocking of the heart. It shuts it down, literally. So if you've been on my channel before, I'm here to tell you that the body's always telling on the mind. You want to know the answer? Tap into your body's wisdom. Listen and learn. That's all you need is right here. Your inner guidance system is your body. Your body's always going to tell you what is true, whether or not you're in alignment or you're misaligned. The mind reflects in the body. So when we resist something in the mind, the heart stops with the... Do you ever notice when you're like, I don't believe that, you seize up, or something you resist in your life, how often you catch yourself not breathing, which essentially stops the heart in a way that the breath is what feeds your battery, your heart. It's all interconnected, intertwined. You can't have one without the other. So the mind, it all trickles down. You know, they say, like in leadership, if the leadership is toxic, and a lot of times the leadership in our lives is our own mind. If you got toxic thoughts, that's going to muddy the waters. That's going to trickle down. You can't go toxic up. It starts all in the mind. Every single thing, because the thoughts you think become things. The words you speak cast spells of your reality. And so the body is just telling you, hey, true, not true. If you end up with dis-ease in the body, that just means there was a seed planted in the mind that was an untruth. And the body's just there to say, I've been holding on to this lie for so long. We need to clear up the shit. And we attract people and situations to ourselves all the time. When we're not facing it head on, we attract where we're at. And so that's how energetically we play out our old past patterns, traumas. In an attempt, the inner child is screaming, going, hey, you're neglecting me here. In an attempt to heal what is still unhealed, to process what is still unprocessed. The traumas from our past are what muddy our experiences in the present. So when people talk about, I'm here, I'm right here in the now, how present are you really if your old unconscious programming is demonstrating otherwise? That's something humbling to even sit with. So when I picked up the book, and this actually was my yesterday's hook'em, as we'll say, I thought it was quite comical, because taking down the walls, as we go through this, I started reflecting upon my own life, because I'm over here in the middle of a renovation that isn't going as quickly as I'd like it to. Yes, I have expectations. I have attachments to what I want, when I want it, and it's not there yet. And I'm okay with that. But see, that's my awareness. I know where I want to be. I have the vision. Can I still allow and be okay with the discomfort of it not being that? That's the key to life, is how you adapt and overcome the challenges to your beliefs. And if maybe you need to rethink them and reconsider them. Because there are times when our beliefs no longer serve us. So without further ado, let's have some reading. Taking down the walls. At some point in your growth, it starts to become quieter inside. This happens quite naturally as you take a deeper seat within yourself. You then come to realize that though you have always been in there, you have been completely overwhelmed by the constant barrage of thoughts, emotions, and sensory inputs that draw on your consciousness. As you see this, it begins to dawn on you that you might actually be able to go beyond all these disturbances. The more you sit in the seat of witness, consciousness, the more you realize that since you are completely independent of what you are watching, There must be a way to break free of the magical hold that the psyche has on your awareness. There must be a way out. How many of you out there have found yourself in your meditations going, wow, if I'm able to observe this, I can see this. It's like you're set back witnessing your whole experience. You're not just watching yourself speaking and doing and thinking and such. You almost feel like you're more than one person witnessing this whole thing playing out. How many of you out there can attest to having that? In that awareness, you start to recognize, if I can see it, what's to say I can't shift it and get out of it? Because it's like slowing down time when you're in that mode. This inner breakthrough to complete freedom is traditionally depicted by the overused and generally misunderstood term enlightenment. You've got to love those buzzwords. The problem is that our views of enlightenment are either based upon our personal experiences or upon our limited conceptual understanding. Since most people have never had experiences in this realm, the state of enlightenment is either scoffed at completely. Isn't that interesting? So many people, because they've never experienced it, they actually have something to say about it. Or it's viewed as the ultimate mystical state, accessible to almost no one. Well, if I haven't had it, then it means it's not accessible to me. It's safe to say that the only thing most people know for sure about enlightenment is that they are not there. And we can say yet, because I believe we all reach it at some point. However, with the understanding that thoughts, emotions, and sensory objects are simply passing before your consciousness, it becomes reasonable to question whether your awareness, your sense of awareness, needs be limited to this experience. What if consciousness were to remove its focus from your personal set of thoughts, your personal set of emotions, and your limited sensory input? Would you become untethered from the bounds of the personal self and be set free to explore beyond? And how exactly did the consciousness become bound to the personal self to begin with? The problem with even attempting to consider these questions is that they call for a discussion of what exists beyond the confines of the mind. Obviously, that discussion is very difficult to have from within the mental structure we are so accustomed to using. For this reason, we will begin exploring the untethered state through the use of an allegory, much like Plato used dialogue to tell his allegory of the cave in 360 BC. We will use a short story to tell our allegory of a very special house. Imagine that you found yourself in the midst of an open field where the sun was always shining. It was a beautiful place of great light and great openness. It was so beautiful that you decided you wanted to live there. So you bought the land. Right in the middle of this enormous field, you began personally designing and building the house of your dreams. You put down a solid foundation because you wanted that house to be very strong and to last a long time. You built the house out of concrete blocks so that you wouldn't have any problems with decaying or leaking. To make this house ecologically sound, you decided to put in very few windows and to build a roof with lots of overhang. After you put in the windows and the house was complete, you realized that a lot of heat still came in. So you installed high-quality protective shutters that not only reflected sunlight and heat back to the outside, but could also be locked down for security purposes. It was a very large house that could store enough supplies to allow for complete self-sufficiency. You even built separate quarters for a quiet acquaintance who would keep the house clean and leave you to be in solitude. And solitude it would be, since your romantic quest included a commitment to no phones, radios, televisions, or internet connections. Your house was finally finished, and you were very excited to be living out there. You loved the openness of the field and all the light and beauty of nature. But most of all, you were enamored with the house. You had put your heart and soul into every aspect of the design, and it showed. It was truly you. In fact, over time, between your infatuation with the house and your growing discomfort with all the strange sights and sounds outside, you started spending more time indoors. It was then that you realized that with the shutters and doors fully locked, the house actually began to feel like a fortress. And this was just fine with you. Being a city person, it was pretty scary living so far out of touch in total isolation. But you were committed to making it on your own. So you gradually became accustomed to living safely within the confines of the house. You happily went about your business of reading and writing as you had always longed to do. It was actually quite comfortable in there since it was fully climate controlled, and you had been wise enough to install a modern full spectrum lighting system. Ironically, you found your house so comfortable, enjoyable, and safe that you stopped thinking about the outside altogether. After all, the inside was familiar, predictable, and within the realm of your control. Your sense of inner sanctum was supported by the fact that when the shutters and blinds were locked in place, they blended like paintings on the walls, and you never even considered risking going outside to unlock them. They were so well made that when the lights were turned off, it was absolutely pitch black, day or night. But since you were accustomed to never turning off the lights, you didn't notice this until they started burning out. It was only then that you realized your predicament. No one had left you replacement bulbs compatible with this new system. This meant that once the final light failed, you were left to find your way around the house in absolute darkness. From that point forward, the only light you had came from the few candles you kept for emergencies. But there were very few of these, so you conserved them well. Being a person who loved light, this was very difficult for you. Yet it was not difficult enough to force you to overcome the fears you had developed about leaving the safety of your house. Eventually, the stress of living in this darkness took its toll on your health, both physically and mentally. With time, that very memory of the beautiful sunlight field began to fade from your mind, never to return again. The whole purpose of you building the house. You became very concerned about keeping the house lit. The only light that you knew about was the light you created in the darkness with your precious candles. It became pretty lonely in there. You were cut off from everything, and the only comfort you felt was the sense of protection your house afforded you. You were no longer aware of exactly what you were so afraid of. You were just aware of always being scared and uncomfortable. It was all you could do to just try to hold yourself together. You even stopped reading and writing because of the lack of light. It was dark, and you too were failing into darkness. You too were falling into darkness. Then one day, the housekeeper who shared your overwhelming need to stay in the safety of the house called you down to the storage cellar. You were amazed by what you saw. A full supply of emergency flashlights had been found that could be powered simply by shaking them. Your housekeeper had already set some up, and the cellar was fully radiant. This was a true turning point in your life. You set about your business of trying to create light, beauty, and happiness within the confines of your home. You decorated each room and worked together to keep the light shining brightly until you went to sleep. You started reading and writing again, and it turned out that your housemate loved reading your writings. In fact, it was not just the artificial lights that were lighting the house. The ember of love had just begun to glow in both of your hearts. Imagine the light you could create together instead of apart. You began spending all of your time with each other, and you even staged a marriage ceremony. It was so beautiful as you vowed to take care of each other and bring love and light into your home. Compared to the darkness in which you had been living, this was heaven. One day you came across a book in your library. It interested you because it talked about the natural, radiant light that exists outside. It even spoke of bathing in that light, but it was talking about more light than you could ever imagine without anyone having to do anything to create it. This was confusing to you. After all, the only light you knew about was the artificial light from candles and flashlights. How could you make that much light and keep it going? You didn't have a clue what this book was talking about because you could only view things in relation to the way you were living inside of darkness. All the light that you could experience was limited to what you could create within the house. You had lived there for so long that all your hopes, dreams, philosophies, and beliefs were founded upon being inside the dark house. Your whole world was about keeping together the life you had managed for yourself within the confines of the house. When you continued reading this seemingly mystical book, it spoke of what it was like to actually walk around in this natural light. It seemed to be describing a self-luminous, omnipresent light that shines everywhere all at once. It was a light that falls on everything constantly and evenly. Though you had no frame of reference for understanding this, it touched something deep within you, deep inside of you. The book then discussed actually going outside. That is, going beyond the walls of your world that you created for yourself. In fact, it said that while you're attached and enamored with the world you created to avoid darkness, you will never know the abundance of natural light that is beyond the confines of your house. How will you ever go outside when you are so dependent upon what you have built inside? The analogy of life inside this house is a perfect fit for our predicament. Our consciousness, our awareness of being, is living deep inside of us in an artificially sealed off area that is absolute. It has 4 walls, a floor, and a roof. It is so solid that not one ray of natural life comes in. The only light we get is what we manage to create for ourselves. So we are very busy decorating daily. We do this by trying to bring things in there with us, hoping to create at least a little light in the house of our own making where we have sealed ourselves off. That is the visual. You are inside a house totally sealed off from natural light, and the house is sitting in the middle of an open field full of brilliant light. But what is your house made of? What are your walls made of? How can they seal off all that light and keep you locked inside? Your house is made of your thoughts and emotions. The walls are made of your psyche. That's what that house is. It is all of your past experiences, all your thoughts and emotions, all the concepts, views, opinions, beliefs, hopes, and dreams that you have collected around you. You hold them in place on all sides, including above and below. You have pulled together in your mind a specific set of thoughts and emotions, and then you have woven them together into a conceptual world in which you live. This mental structure completely blocks you from whatever natural light is on the outside of its walls. You have walls of thoughts thick enough and closed enough to where nothing but darkness is inside that structure. You are so entranced into paying attention to your thoughts and emotions that you never go beyond the borders they create. If you want to see how restrictive your walls are, just start walking toward them. Let's say you have an emotional fear of heights. When you were young, you fell off a ladder and the impression stayed with you. That is inside of your walls. That is one of your walls. If you doubt that's a wall, let's see you walk through it. Let's say something happens that activates these old feelings of fear and you decide to walk right toward it. The closer you get, the more you will have the urge to pull back. That which you collected from your past forms a boundary that you intuitively want to avoid. That's natural. That's what we do with the walls. We avoid running into them. But because you avoid running into them, they lock you inside their parameter. They become your prison because they are the boundaries of your awareness. Because you are not willing to approach them, you cannot see what is beyond them. When you approach the barrier areas of your thoughts and emotions, it feels like going into an abyss. You don't want to go near that place, but you can go there, and if you want to get out, you will go there. Eventually, you will realize that darkness is not what's really there. What is really there are the walls that are blocking the infinite light. When you are looking for light, that is a crucial distinction. If you see a wall and it is protecting you from unending darkness, you will not want to go there. But if you see a wall that is blocking the light, you will want to go there in order to remove the wall. It is often said that you must go through the darkest night in order to get to the infinite light. This is because what we call darkness is really the blockage of light. You must go past these walls. It's not really difficult to get past the walls. Time and again, every day, the natural flow of life collides with our walls and tries to tear them down. But time and again, we defend them. You must realize that when you defend yourself, you are really defending your walls. There is nothing else to defend in there. There is just your awareness of being and the limited house you built to live in. What you are defending is the house you built to protect yourself. You are hiding inside. If something happens to challenge the walls of your psyche, you get highly defensive. You have built a self-concept, moved inside, and now you defend that home with all you have. But what creates that inner home other than the walls of your thoughts? When you say, I'm a woman and I'm 45 years old, I'm married to Joe and I graduated from this school, those are the thoughts. The actual situations don't exist in there with you except in the form of thoughts you cling to. But I was a cheerleader and I was a president of my senior class. That was 30 years ago. Those situations don't even exist anymore. But they exist inside of you in the form, they form the walls in which you live. And we call those memories. Imagining. You hear me talk about BS, right? The walls we build are essentially our belief systems, our experiences, perceptions, the stories we construct. Mental, not physical. Isn't that a crazy thing to consider? That everything you defend is essentially your BS. We can use the house as an allegory. That's a great story. This is like the perfect way to explain the way we create our safety zone. Because the mind wants to keep you safe. It doesn't care if you're happy. It's about control. Controlling my externals to soothe my internals that are unhealed. Have you ever noticed, have you ever done this? Someone in your life or even yourself, where people have to be a certain way for you to be happy, for you, like you're supposed to treat me a certain way. But if you're not treating yourself that way, what makes you think others are going to do the same for you? Or somebody wants you to behave a certain way, or they won't love you. All of these are belief systems, and people go to war over them. People build these walls to stay safe, to keep distance. What if somebody challenges your self-concept and breaks a little hole in it? What if somebody manages to shake one of those foundational thoughts that the house of your psyche is built upon? Imagine if someone told you when you were 20 years old, wait a minute, those are not your parents, you were adopted. Didn't they ever tell you? You would adamantly deny it until they showed you the documents. It would shake up your whole inner being. Just one wrong thought and the structure starts to crumble. Tremendous fear and turmoil can open up inside of you simply because something is not the way you thought it was. It shakes you to the core of your being because it challenges the house of thoughts in which you are dwelling. To fix this, you start in with your rationalizations. I knew they were really nice. They were just like my real parents would have been. Imagine them adopting someone like me and bringing me up just like their own. God, they were even more special than I thought. They were more special than I thought they were. You patched that hole up very well. That's what we do with our walls. We keep them solid. Nothing is allowed to shake those walls. Notice that you patched the cracking wall with thoughts, though. You patched with thoughts that which is made of thoughts. Thoughts upon thoughts. That's what we do, just like the people who fearfully lock themselves inside the dark house, in the middle of a sunlit field, and then struggle to create some light. We work hard to build a world within the confines of our inner walls that is better than the inner darkness. We decorate our walls with the memories of our past experiences and with our dreams of the future. In other words, the potential to step out of. In other words, we decorate them with thoughts. None of it's real. And that's our escapism in itself, is in our own thoughts. But just as the people in the house had the potential to step out of their own self-made artificial house of thoughts into the unlimited, your awareness can expand to encompass vast space instead of the limited space in which you dwell. Then when you look back at that little house you built, you will wonder why you're even ever in there. That is your journey out. True freedom is very close. It's just on the other side of your walls. Enlightenment is a very special thing, but in truth, one should not focus on it. Focus instead on the walls of your own making that are blocking the light. Of what purpose is it to build walls that block out the light and then strive for enlightenment? You can get out simply by letting everyday life take down the walls you hold around yourself. You simply don't participate in supporting, maintaining, and defending your fortress, your BS. Imagine your house of thoughts standing in the middle of an ocean of light from 1 trillion stars. Imagine your awareness trapped inside the darkness of that house, struggling daily to live off the artificial light of your limited experiences. Now imagine the walls crumbling down and the effortless release of consciousness expanding into the brilliance of what is and always was. Now give that experience a name. Enlightenment. Chapter 12 in the Untethered Soul. We all build walls. It's how conscious we are of those walls, and whether they're serving us or they're actually limiting us. Right? Pretty profound that our thoughts could keep us held back in these times, especially where we want more. But what are we willing to do to be more? To face fear in spite of it. That when we have something come up, be like, oh, that's always a sign to do it. I'm a living testimony over here. Like, when I don't feel like doing something, that's when I know I need to be doing it. Today's a really interesting energy day. I don't know if you all are feeling it. Just feels a little off. It doesn't feel spot on. It doesn't feel something's going on, right? And acceptance is the key. Allowing what is as opposed to the resistance. Just like electrical signals, because again, we're like computers. We are electric beings. And we have frequencies and currency going through us all the time. So when we resist something, think about transmitters and resistors and electrical signals and all that on-off switches. We resist, we block energy. The body will tell you because something in it will reflect the truth of the resistance. The body, what is the first thing you do when you feel resistant? You hold your breath. Everything seizes up, everything tenses. That in itself is an indicator that there's something that's untrue and that it's time to go and reflect upon it and really okay, what is that thought about? Where did I learn that? Where did that originate? Clearly it's part of my walls that need dismantling. They usually say that that which you resist is usually what you must do more than anything. And I know for me right now, me sharing my own personal life, I'm in the middle of a remodel, renovations, and I need big, strong men to help. By the way, if you live in the Clearwater area and you're willing to help, let me know in the comments. I need big, strong men on Saturday. True story. And I'm that person that has trouble asking. So that's why I say, sometimes you gotta put yourself out there. It also reveals to you the people in your life that just assume you had it all together and they just back off or they're nowhere to be found. You're gonna find out one way or the other, the people who deserve to stay in your life and the ones that maybe do need to go. As well as when you need to place yourself in new environments and situations so that you can meet the right people and attract where you're at. Receptivity, giving and receiving, not just giving and not just taking. That's where animosity comes from, is when you feel you've given something and didn't receive equally in exchange. When you pour from your cup, that cup needs to be refilled. We're all going through that in some way, shape, or form. Eclipse season, 6 months here. I'm sure your lives are being shaken up to the max. And, that's how we grow, is with the discomfort. Is okay, so I have to adapt. I have to build up the resilience. For those of you who are still doing the fists of anger, what's come up for you? Revealing, peeling away those layers. Feeling is revealing and healing. Yeah. And it kind of sucks because, you want people to go along with you on the journey in your life. You're like, oh, that kind of stinks, Sit with the sadness. It's okay. Honor that. Don't deny that in yourself either, by the way. Because grieving is a necessary part of the process of life. Don't try to smooth it over, whatever, some people get passive aggressive and they're like, oh, they're just an asshole anyway. You know what? You liked them before. It does stink when they go or they're just not meant to stay. But it's wow, I'm sad to see that person go. I've had this a lot going on in my life, and it's not the first rodeo for me. At my age, I realized, this isn't unknown. This isn't foreign, it's not a foreign situation. I've been through this before. When I have to change, when I've had to change locations, I've moved from one place to the next. It's your whole circle of friends changes. But that is how you grow. You also learn when you're growing, who is growing around you. When they fall off and they want to stay where they're at, that's not your place to judge. Let them go. They may show up another time. Depends on the circumstances. But you're here for a purpose. And not everybody is meant to be part of that. So take that weight off your shoulders, thinking that you have to be loyal to every single person in your life. That because you've known them all your life, or that you were in the same alma mater, or you went to school in this, that, or the other, it's it's okay. It's okay to say, it's an end of a cycle. It's the end of a season. You were in my life for a reason, and I love you for that. You helped a part of my life grow, and you still have a place in my heart. These people could be here for a short time, could be here for a long time. But they're obviously, when we mourn, when we grieve, when we're upset, those are all indicators that they touched us in some way, shape, or form. Even if you feel neglected or let down or dropped, it's not a bad thing. It just shows you that you want more than that. Because we need contrast for us to grow, to recognize how our life is meant for us. Not that we're just extras in other people's lives, that we are the star of our own show. And I'm not saying this from a narcissistic space. It really, truly is sad to say goodbye. Really. It is like a death. Every change in life is like a mini death, a major life transition, change. It's the rebirthing cycle. It is part of life. But yet we don't celebrate it like other cultures. In fact, these cults of personality that are current tend to just try to say you're supposed to just suck it up. And I mean it in a really toxic way. You'll look around the world like, oh, that ain't nothing. You know, like, people can be passive aggressive instead of recognizing, I'm really sorry that's happening to you right now. I'm sorry you're experiencing that. It's okay. Because you know you're going to get through this. But honor it. Celebrate it. Do whatever you got to do. Move your body, like shake it out, dance. Maybe throw on your favorite song with that person, for example. That person, whatever music it is that they remind you of, or maybe a song comes on and it brings it up for you about that person, dance to it in celebration for the time they spent in your life and how they contributed to you. But don't put up walls just because 1, 2, 3, however many people drop out of your life. When people go, that means there's space for you to grow. When those people go, they're creating the space for the right ones to come in. That's exciting in itself too, because you're like, who's next? Who's going to be my next playmate? Because that's what life is a game of play. Us humans have made it so serious. I want more play in my life. I want more humor. Healthy, because laughter is medicine. Dancing, crying is cleansing. Like, celebrate every emotion that comes through, because it's just indicating what attachments we have. Whatever comes up. Right? Yeah, woohoo people. Woohoo! What are we going to do? What's next on the agenda? What's the party? What are the plans for the party today, guys? What are we going to do? Nettle herbal tea, if you're wondering. Really good for you. Yeah, right? Last time I took life so darn serious and nearly killed me. I've had that happen a couple times, so yeah. It really is an exciting time. When we start to recognize that things that upset us are really just meaning, you know, like when you think you're going to have a breakthrough, right? A breakdown is really an indicator of a breakthrough. I learned that when I did Anthony Robbins' Date with Destiny back in 2008. Whenever you think you're about to have a breakdown, that means you're getting ready to have a breakthrough. Life is just magical, and it is an exciting time. Okay, if you want to get into the doom and gloom and of everything that's going on, I read through posts on Instagram, and you know, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love to listen to what other people's views on things are. And I just find it interesting because so many of us here that are connected, we also listen to similar people. How funny is that? I've been listening to probably Ralph Smart since 2004 or 5. And I haven't listened to him. Sometimes I go through phases with him. He's really good. And I feel like we speak the same language, which always like lights me up when we're speaking the same language. Teal Swan. Let's see. Comparing notes, right? What the Flock TV is pretty good. I love watching his stuff. Decode Your Reality. Logan's Got Me. I don't even remember if I found him. I think I found Logan through Santos Bonacci. And Pamela and I have been connected across those same lines. And then some of us are also connected to Leo King, who is one of the best astrologers out there, as well as Sun Soul Astrology. Absolutely love her. John Levi, I like watching him. 𝐒𝐬𝐁𝐅, I've been watching him too. And he's really blowing up right now. Like a lot of people watching his stuff. There's a lot of other people that I love to follow. I like to follow Aubrey Marcus. I feel like he's my soul twin, honestly. I don't mean in an intimate way. I mean like he speaks the same way I feel and vice versa. Like I'll listen to something he'll say and I'm like, wow, I've said that before. So to me, that's really, really cool. And I think it's funny that his wife's name is Vailana. There's no coincidences in life. In fact, I know there are a lot of people that I resonate with that we're soul tribe from past. There's no doubt in my mind. I like also, my gosh, there's so many good ones. Matt Kahn's really good. Following him for years. Who else? Let me know in the comments who else you follow, because I'm probably following them too. Obviously, I recently had met Julia from Simplicity Revealed. So it's just ironic because we were already following the same people too, right? How crazy is that? I do have a little problem with, see, I'm not going to say I agree with everything that he says or everything that everybody says. It's like James also says, the way that he also said it in his videos today, we essentially really, and this is what struck me when I was listening to James earlier. He was talking about listening to different podcasts and he was referencing them. And I recognize how we also have those connections, but because we are all of the same energy collective, everybody's got nuggets, frequent keys that we're unlocking. So although you don't resonate with every single thing that every single person says, the more we come together and put the keys together, this has been my theory for a long time. This is what remembering means, that we're all here to remember, which if you look at the word remember, we're all souls coming back together, puzzles of the pieces. The frequent keys that we all hold, the frequency, which are the frequent keys, which are the codes that we've been unlocking, we all have a piece of the puzzle. Some of us might have a bigger piece than others, but when you start adding those all together, we become that much more powerful, people. That has been my theory for a long time, and this is the first time I've actually shared that, I think. I probably have talked about it in my videos in the past, but I do find it intriguing because I'll listen to certain people and I'm like, yeah, I believe that, and maybe I don't like, maybe the delivery doesn't resonate with me. Maybe they still are formulating through it. Like when I first had my reading with Logan a year ago, and what I love about decoding myself is that the more we get to know ourselves, and I've said this for a while anyway, it's like, wow, that's empowering. Know your astrology, your human design, your numerology, whatever it is, the more you know your inner workings as well as your foundation, and it also reinforces what you know in your heart and soul from when I was a little girl. Everything that I feel like I never lost that naivete of my childhood, that I knew things from that time and still do. I still reflect back to my inner child because I'm like, dang, she's pretty smart. And she's a part of my life and always will be. I don't ever want to deny my inner child because she's what got me to where I am, even with the little temper tantrums, right? You know, when we draw in more trauma to heal the old drama. There you go. When we draw in more drama, it's to heal the old trauma. Think about that. So in my past videos, I've talked about when we don't do the work within ourselves, we don't tend to our little one, our inner child, that inner child energetically calls in another party. Because it's like, and that's part of the temper tantrum, energetically, it happens. When you're not tending to the wounds, the inner child's like, fine, you're not listening to me. I'm going to draw in this other person, and you're going to have to work it out and play it out all over again. Because when you didn't heal it at the time that it originally happened, it's unhealed, unprocessed. That energy got stuck and it's stagnant and it's lodged in your cells and your being. Your issues are in your tissues, people. So the inner child goes and pulls that other person in, and you're like, why is this always happening to me? Oh, woe is me. Let me play the victim. I'm really good at that one. It's like your inner child drew in the drama so you could heal that trauma. That person is an opportunity for your growth. Again, we are always serving up one another with an opportunity for growth. We are each other's teachers and students. There is nobody who is each other's guru. We are G-U-R-U, guru. We are, we're mirrors for one another. And so if you can see the opportunity in everything, even when it sucks and you're like, oh, dang. You know, I've had to make some choices recently that I was like, might not like it, but I made the choice. I didn't have it taken and made for me. And that was more empowering than sucking it up and denying what was going on. So the healing is what's being revealed right now. Whatever you're feeling, whatever's coming up, is for your healing, making your mess, your message, your test, your testimony. You hear this through all the different personal development circles, that there's pain, there's purpose in your pain. That whatever it is, somebody out there needs you. And we need each other. So again, those frequent keys, we're coming together for a reason. And it is a new season. New. Whatever's going on outside in the world, don't allow it to hijack your energy. That's a good one, Val. I like that. I really like that one. Everyone wanting to play the chief. It's like alphas and betas, leaders and followers. Currently, the world stage is a game of chess. We got a lot of people in positions of power, perceived power, because Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins is a phenomenal book. I highly recommend it. We have a lot of people in positions that are placed there. We didn't elect them. We didn't choose them. I'm over here going, I'm not following that. That doesn't align with me. It's not for my highest good. And it's definitely not for the highest good of most people involved. When you recognize that we are living in a world where people are placed in positions to keep you distracted, it's a game of chess. We are the pawns in their game. That's when we need to switch the game entirely and stop playing chess. How about that? When the system is broken, you don't try to fix it. You don't try to think that somebody is going to fix it. It's when you just totally abandon ship. You know, maritime admiralty law, abandon ship. Stand in your sovereignty as a man or a woman, as your human self, your light being. Hue meaning shade, light. Man, mantra, being. So whatever you're going through, just remember, whatever's going on out there, part of it is our contribution of our unhealed wounds playing out in the world stage. Did you notice how somehow we ended up in an upside down, inside out world of bullies? Now the bully is playing the victim and getting away with stuff. And everybody else is going, what the heck? I don't understand how this works. Like, it's just what was politically correct is now politically incorrect, and vice versa. So, yeah, you know, we have to listen to what resonates and speaks to our heart. And we also need to recognize that if it doesn't resonate, it's okay. Whatever's being said, whatever's happening in the world, but don't get distracted or caught up in the choosing of sides. Have you noticed that too? Part of our old programming is, well, we're supposed to pick a side, aren't we? No, that's part of the game, their game. Chess is two sides of the board, right? There's your duality, black and white, checkers. It's all chess. It's duality. It's polarizing, it's polarity. Everything in this life is contrast. When we are so out of balance, that's when you recognize the contrast, but the two sides of the whole need each other. The villain needs the hero needs the villain. This is the game of life. Yep. When we get smarter, when you know better, you can do better. So with the information, you're informed, and that empowers you. We don't play at all. We disengage. We abandon ship. What I was just saying is the system is rigged because it's a game. They think, you think, because that's part of the old belief system. You've been programmed to think, I have to play. But you get to choose when and how you play. If you want to enter into it, you can also choose your conditions. But this is a whole other conversation, and it really does require more people coming back together and empowering one another. Not this, oh, I need to get my whatever title to get out of the system. Because what I have found is it's all a game of languaging, that whenever you put a title on something, a label, you limit. I am a natural woman born of this earth. I am not a piece of paper. I am not a straw man. I am not all these things. But that doesn't mean I can't choose for my life and still be empowered. And that no matter what is going on out in the world, I can choose what I engage in and what I disengage from. And not to allow it to penetrate my being, because we're not human doings, we're human beings. We really need to breathe more. That if something takes you out, you go back in. See how that works? All you seek is within you. Even in the languaging there, somebody takes you out of you, meaning they take you out of your body because you are in your mind. And that's going out of your mind, lunatics, right? Lunar cycles. And they literally feed off of that energy, that currency. Keeping people in fear, pitted against one another. I mean, look at how much history has been about keeping the humans in argument with each other. But yet, we truly want to be connected with one another. We don't want to be like this. We want to contribute. We want to be held, right? I know I do. I speak for myself at least. Like, I want to be in a loving relationship. I want to be with a person who honors and respects me. I want that strong, masculine man who's like, honey, I got you. And I'm like, let me melt into you. Because that's my natural being. It's just knowing that there is someone there for me that will hold me and be my rock as much as I will be his. So I don't just settle for anyone. And I have had some bumps along the road. We all make mistakes, but they're just mistakes and choices. It's not a failure in life. There are no failures, just choices. And when we think we made a mistake, we just make another choice and it continues down the road. So we never really make mistakes. Missed takes. They're just choices. And every relationship, again, teaches you what it is your heart aligns with and to. It's beautiful. Every single relationship should be celebrated. Even if you get to throw a temper tantrum here or there, like just honor whatever it is you feel. Like I dislike the way I was treated in my last relationship. I have no problem saying that. He was a flat out ass. I could say that. But at the same time, I got the dog, which I no longer have now. And I was reminded that's one of the reasons I was feeling a little off today, is I was fighting with, I hate to say the word fighting, but the vet that I took my dog to when my dog was sick proceeded to gaslight me and treat me like crap, and actually had the audacity, when I mentioned I was a veteran, that I should go contact my mental health. Literally in text messages. This is how fucked up the world is right now, where there's a high rate of suicide, and you're going to have someone who's supposed to be a doctor, vet, whatever, whether it's for animals or humans, actually gaslight and attack you for raising to their attention how, first off, they didn't even apologize for your dog dying, but the fact that they were negligent in even acknowledging and recognizing what was wrong with them. But they had no problem taking the money from me. They wanted more money. In fact, they play on the emotions, don't they? They really like to suck out the money because that's all they care about. So anyway, one of the things was I did get a letter from another vet who looked at his lab work and said that they were negligent. She said that there's no reason it should have cost as much as it did. She said that what they overlooked, and they should have seen it because it was all in the lab work, was a particular bacteria that he needed treatment for, and he didn't get that. But they wanted another 700 on top of 560 for me. So because I put it on care credit, I'm going to dispute it with care credit. But meanwhile, there's a whole messed up situation where when you try to hold people accountable, they got all the money and the backing. And that's another problem with the system, is that they turn it around and act like you were the bad person, when in reality, they're continuing their bad behavior with no remorse, no compassion, no kindness. Because when I went in their office, I had two questions. Number one, first off, I realized I had just given my dog a flea medication prior to him being sick. Ever since I gave it to him, he'd been sick. But I had just had surgery from, like a couple weeks prior, and all this stuff was happening all at the same time. And they proceeded to tell me, oh, that's not possible. He would have been over that already. And I was like, wait a minute here. Then I found not long after everything that went and happened, and I put him to sleep. I went to my original vet when I had my other dog. They were really, really compassionate, because when I had Angel, that's when they told me, they said, sometimes we have to make the choices for our animals because they'll go to the ends of the earth for us. And I swore with Angel, because I had her for almost 18 years. I swore I would not put another dog through what I put her through, because I should have put her to sleep a couple weeks prior. I was holding on for me. And I acknowledge that. Like, a lot of people won't own that. A lot of people will act like it's the dog, but it's really them. You're holding on to the dog for you. That's how these industries make so much money off of us, is because they know we love our pets. I mean, have you not noticed the increase in dis-ease in animals? Like, that's a huge market. We're not going to go there. I found an article that talked about this particular type of medication for fleas, and as a result, it turned out there was a lawsuit in 2019, meaning these vets have to be aware of it. So when I first walked in, I mentioned the article, and they got very defensive. So they were already on the offense, defense. There was no, I'm sorry for your loss or anything. But ultimately, what went back and forth, and really my own my own personal goal in the whole conversation was, number one, do you have a protocol? When some animal has an adverse reaction to a medication that you prescribed. See, that's the other thing. Vets are the ones prescribing and dispensing. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't like that. They'll try to push you off on the actual manufacturer of the flea medication, but the truth is they're also the pharmacist. So they're dispensing it to you. They don't want that. So that's why I know I got extra pushback. But the two questions I wanted to have answered was, do you have a protocol? What is your protocol? And at first they tried to deny that it was even a problem. Well, we've never seen anything like that before. I asked if they even knew about the article. I don't know what you're talking about. I eventually, in the midst of the conversation, was told, well, it's rare. See how they changed the story? Now, I understand they're told, don't admit guilt because it's a liability. But then this particular owner of the vet clinic proceeded to say, if you ever want to go out, and she did it with the smuggest, like, little smile on her face, like she knew she wasn't going to get in any trouble. And that's why I think she was so arrogant and condescending and gaslighting. She's like, if you ever want to go after a vet in the future, you need to follow all their recommendations to the T. Because it makes you look stupid if you didn't. I was like, wow. Wow. So despite the fact that they were negligent to begin with, she's basically telling me I have to basically lose my dog anyway. Let them treat the dog that way, which was not healthy, didn't fix anything, got it worse, didn't fix anything. Anyway, so I was in the process of dealing with that today, and I know that's why I was a little off. And I miss my puppy, my boo. In fact, I haven't even looked in the box. This is the Rainbow Bridge prayer for our pets when they cross over. And I had his ashes scattered over a butterfly place, and I haven't even pulled this out yet, but I got his paw print. Yeah, he was a big boy. Yeah, thank you. It was in April 29th, I had to put him to sleep. And I also have my Angel's paw print from the same place, because that's what I did with Angel. It's in the other room. But he had his ashes spread across. Aw, I haven't even looked at this till now. Look at that. This plants wild seeds in the wild flowers in memory of my puppy. And they did a little footy print on the card. So honestly, all I wanted was my dog. Thanks, Val. The timing wasn't the greatest, because he was sick before I even went to the hospital and had my breast implants removed. But the message I received when it was so hard to even let him go, because he was my boo. He wouldn't even sleep inside. That's how sick he was, because he felt so bad for getting sick inside the house. The message I got was, in order to spread my wings, he had to gain his. So much of my life, even for myself, if you've followed me for a while, I just spent over a month in Europe reclaiming parts of my fragmented soul. It's been one hell of a ride. That ever since I had my implants removed,
it cracked my heart wide the fuck open. And I realized how much tenderness there really ever was, and I've always had. That metaphorically, and the way that it manifested, one of my implants was ruptured. The way that I interpreted that one was, my heart was bursting so much. There was so much healing I have been doing that a burst implant was an indicator that my heart was trying to break through the shield that the implants resembled, represented, and really were. Yeah. So Buddy was my gift. He was there for me during a time I needed him. He was my boo. I would have loved to keep him going, but you know what? He was also the remaining connection to my ex-partner. That even though I had to have an experience of a narcissistic relationship to the extreme that I did, that Buddy was the gift. And my theory was that he was looking for me and he used him as the vessel, you know. Okay, human, you're going to go find my other human. That's how I see that. Animals are smart like that. So, and Buddy was the dog around town. Everybody knew Buddy because he was the happiest dog in the neighborhood, and he was everybody's buddy, and he would greet every single person. When I would walk, and I still do, along Edgewater Drive, it was me and my dog, and you couldn't not see us. He just big, beautiful golden lab with his golden eyes and his pink nose. Really beautiful dog. I don't have a picture handy right now, but happiest dog in the neighborhood. And the hardest thing was walking without him. For weeks, people who saw us together were, you could see they were heartbroken for me. And there's this one man, Brian, really sweet man, also another veteran. And when I see him, he saw me and he said, he came up to me and he kind of rushed up like, Lana, Buddy. And he had tears. He's like, I'm so sorry. He was such a good dog, and you're such a good person. And I was more heartbroken because I know the joy my dog brought. Yeah. So in a little way, I also built up a little bit of a shield around myself, because it turned out not everybody can handle your tenderness. Not everybody can appreciate a strong person admitting and showing their courage and speaking up for how they feel. So during this past year, since I lost Buddy, since I took out the implants, I've had some pretty revealing conversations with people. I've exposed my heart and revealed it to people, not necessarily that they deserved it, but it triggered them. And sometimes your light will illuminate someone's shit, right? And it's okay, because that's part of my path. And I love that about myself, because it makes my life easier when people reveal themselves, and I allow and honor that, and I accept it. It used to suck when I was younger, because I'd want them to be something they weren't. And I remember times thinking, but, because that was my inner child naivete, like, but I want to give them a chance. They deserve a chance. I would want a chance, right? That's to do unto others as you would want done unto you. You give other people a chance. You're that person because the empath wants a chance given to it, that you give the chance to others. But there's a difference between the healed and the unhealed. A lot of people wear that empath label, title, like a badge of honor. I feel everybody's stuff. The healed empath can discern when someone else's stuff reminds them of what they've healed versus it triggers what's still unhealed. And then you commiserate with that person. You proceed to tell each other your stories. And all you're doing is bringing that energy down. When we can recognize that we got work to do, okay, so somebody's stuff is, their wound is rubbing your wound. Maybe you're rubbing each other's wound in a way that it's not fun, but just have compassion and the awareness that there's something there. Yeah. And always, we take the emotion and we harness it because it's all in the mind. And I know Buddy was a really beautiful being. And listen, when I put my dog to sleep, I looked at him, I said, I am not going to say I'm not getting another dog, because just like with Angel, they find me, and I know he'll find me again. And I say he, but I saw all my animals in him. My animals show up to me. I have animals all around me all the time. And I have neighbors who say, when are you getting another dog? And I'm like, what is it with these people? They think I'm so codependent. I need to have another animal right away. I'm like, dude, that's like, if you lost your partner, are you going to get another one? I'm over here going, I need to mourn this because I honor the process of grief. I don't replace one with the other. Just like anything in life, you recognize your codependency when you're trying to put a Band-Aid over the wound as opposed to letting it heal naturally. So this is where we're at in the world right now, that building walls is just an indicator of your fear of the light, your fear that you're not safe. That even though my heart was broken so much this past year, honestly, I'm that much more resilient. I'm stronger. I'm grateful for the tenderness of this heart. I'm grateful for my ability to speak up, to have the courage, to show my vulnerability, knowing that people see me as, well, she's a tough cookie, she's a leader, she can do it, she got it all under control. I do in a certain light, and then I got no control over a lot of other stuff. It's been really challenging for myself. Yeah, we all need time, love, and tenderness. Thank you. We all need to honor that for ourselves, because if we don't do it for ourselves, people will step all over you. If they feel they've got access to you and they're entitled to you, they're not going to care what you're going through. They just want what they need for them because they're acting out of fear. And see, there we go again. We're back to that. People are always either acting from fear, out of fear, or acting from a place of love. Now, here's the difference energetically. You can feel the love because it fuels you, it energizes you. And you can feel the fear because it's drudgery, it's dragging, it's heavy. When you start tapping into your body's wisdom, when you start becoming more aware of how and where am I feeling it in my body, your truth indicator, it is like right there for you. The gift of the now. Be present. Because whatever you're feeling is your guidance. If you feel resistance in your body, then that's telling you something's off. Don't go that way. But if you feel that, fuck yeah, seize the day. So these have been challenging times because the people that I turn to and ask for help haven't always been receptive. And so they're sloughing off. You know, when I ask for help, and that takes a lot for me to begin with. I need some big, strong, brawny men. Like when I was in the military, I had no problem finding men that would help. You go to the spiritual community, no offense, oh my God, labor. It's the weirdest thing. It really is. But that's what this past couple of years have been teaching me is Wow. There's a lot of people hiding out, a lot of escapism, and it's all good. There's nothing wrong with that. This is going to be in every walk of life. People hiding out. It's another form of addiction, you know? It is one of the forms of addiction. Well, if I say I'm enlightened, I'm a yogi, then I'll just give the appearance. It's that self-importance. It's the self-righteous behavior. Like, see, I'm doing all the good things. I'm recycling my stuff. I'm eating vegan or vegetarian, whatever. It's like, quit with the labels, people. It doesn't make you a good human. You could still be an asshole. And I see a lot of assholes. Just saying. And I can be loving and I can be calling your ass out too. You know, I'm different and I'm special. Yeah, right? Short bus special. And yes, there were times I took a short bus. I was in gifted and talented programs. Sometimes it was a short bus because it was more economical for them to drive us on a short bus, just saying. So I know people love their isolation, but do you know we humans are meant to be in unity? Humans in unity, right? That's what builds community. And again, that's the frequencies and frequent keys. We need each other to feed each other, to uplift, to support. We didn't come here to be monks, people. Come on. You know better. We need each other to also kind of like polish off our diamonds. Like, we're all diamonds in the rough. And so it's nice every once in a while. Somebody challenges you. You're like, man, I hate that, but I love you for it. You know, you got to love the grit. Like, everything in life is serving. It's just so fucking beautiful. I'm just saying. With that said, when I end this stream, I'm going to offer 5 yoga nidra sessions, private. I can do it over WhatsApp or I can do it over FaceTime. I mean, it doesn't, I can do a Zoom as well. So the reason I'm offering this is because I need to do some practices anyway. And they'll be about 35, 40, 45 minutes long. And yeah, just my gift. And why not? You're here. Yoga Nidra means waking sleep. It's kind of hypnotic and trance-like. But essentially you make yourself very comfortable. You could be laying on your bed. You can lay on the floor. Prop yourself so that you're all nice and cozy in like what they call a nest. It's like Shavasana. And then you get a guided meditation with it. So 5 people. Let me know in the comments after the stream, not in the live stream, because I have trouble keeping up with all these comments. And yeah, share this video if this resonates. Be kind and subscribe. Click the notification bell to know when I go live. Because sharing is caring. Because you never know who could use this message today. Great book. And tomorrow, maybe if I get a chance, I'll do another video with a reading. I really appreciate each and every one of you for showing up for yourself more than anything. And being just amazingly you. From my heart to you, I love you. Take a deep breath in. And exhale out with a sigh. Have a wonderful evening.